What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Kraven in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And this is a kind of character video. I did one on MJ, and I want to take a look at several characters in Spider-Man 2, kind of talk about the highlights of them, the pros, the cons, and go from there. And I'm trying to start with ones that you maybe wouldn't immediately think of. Peter, Miles, Harry, maybe those being kind of the key three. We'll probably cover them, but we'll leave them towards the end. Like I said, I did an MJ video yesterday. Today is Kraven. And I gotta say, I actually really like Kraven. I think, at least from what I can tell, the opinion of him does seem to kind of be split online. But I want to start with this. And I think I said this maybe in a live stream a little while ago. He is exactly, or his role is exactly what I kind of predicted it would be. And maybe it's because of that. Why am I saying that? Well, it's because of that it met my expectations. So I actually very much liked Kraven, and I thought he satisfied the role he probably was supposed to play in the game. He was a menace. He really shook up the playing board, which we'll talk about, in terms of taking out other villains that are in this universe. And he also came at a very inopportune time for everybody in the game, right? Like, you have obviously Peter and Harry going through some stuff, and Peter is not in the situation. I mean, are you really ever ready for a villain that comes to like hunt people and is trying to kill all these people? You're probably never ready for that. But they're kind of dealing with their own thing, and they're adjusting to life, and then Harry comes back and the symbiote and all that, and Kraven is kind of just in like the background, really causing havoc and just a really bad time for these characters, right, where they are in their lives. So I did like that. And again, in terms of serving the role that I think he was meant for, and what my prediction was of him, remember, leading into this game, I constantly said he is not going to be, which I don't think this was all that shocking, right? He's not going to be the main villain. He's not going to be the villain that you fight at the end of the game. And I actually thought he would be disposed of, whatever that would have meant, maybe halfway through. I was close. I wasn't entirely right, but I was pretty close in that maybe 65% of the way through, maybe 70% of the way through, he gets taken out. And we'll talk about that as well as this video goes on, but he definitely doesn't make it to the end. I think he makes it slightly further than I thought he did. Now, he only really makes it further than I thought he would because he fights twice, right? Because he fights Venom. If he didn't do that, and when he lost to Peter, that was it, then that would have probably been closer to what I imagined it would have been. But he also, he's in it kind of early, but he doesn't really start to put his stranglehold on the city, for a little while. And obviously he has his goons do a lot of the jobs for him as well. But I think he was in it enough to establish himself, and I think he made, whether it's the acting or the voice work, whatever, the writing of him, I think he made the most of the scenes because he wasn't in 1,000 scenes, but I think he did really good in what he was in. His music, his theme, which they also, I think, used during, the Hunter-specific missions as well, even if he wasn't there, so good. Legendary. It really was. It made me, have a sense of, dread, because the music just kind of did that to me, where it's, it's imposing, you connect it to him immediately, and just whenever you hear that theme and you're thinking of him, I don't know, I think they just did a really good job there. I think any scene that he's in, obviously he has a very big role in Peter getting the symbiote, which I think Venom also directly tells Kraven during the fight, right, where it's you started this all. You are literally the reason that the symbiote left Harry in the first place, which you don't know how that would have played out if it didn't happen, right? But that's true. He is the cause of it. He didn't stab Peter, causing him to basically die, almost die, right? Then none of that, the entire arc, wouldn't have happened. So, huge in the shakeup that he does to Harry and Peter. In fact, he's the sole cause of it. And then, like I mentioned, shaking up the entire playing board. Well, he eliminates several of the Sinister Six. He eliminates several of the villains just in general in this gaming universe, which, and we've talked about this here and there before, but obviously you see Scorpion, right? You see that, and that's a great scene. I really like that scene. And then you see Vulture's wings. Well, people had pointed out the reason why we know about Electro and Shocker is that their equipment is also there with Vulture, or during that mission, I should say. So he wipes out 4 villains. Now, not all the biggest villains of all time, but some pretty big ones. I'd say Shocker is on a lower tier than the other 3, but Vulture, that's pretty huge. You see Scorpion. Scorpion's a pretty big villain, and Elektra's a pretty big villain, right? So, like, hopefully, Rhino makes it off scot-free, but he's never been that, obviously he's physically intimidating, but he's a villain that they can, dispatch of relatively quickly, the Spider-Man, right? So Kraven really shakes up the board there by eliminating a lot of the Sinister Six, a lot of the villains, leaving just a handful. Obviously there's many, many more, but the established ones, the big ones, the ones that you think of, the ones that a lot of these games constantly kind of go back to, right? Like the Well, that are, the not generic, but the ones that have like the biggest names, right? That we all know. He took a lot of those out. So that was something that I respected. That I actually really like that. I don't mind that. I think it's a big deal. It's a big deal, but it's something that I think you had to do to make it feel real, like to make it feel like he actually had this purpose. And that's kind of where I want to go next. I think the strongest thing with Kraven is that why is he actually doing it? And they give you enough during the main story that you understand, and I think it still feels impactful. Doing everything, right? 100%ing the game, doing all the side stuff, I think is recommended, and obviously a lot of people have done it based off the stats that we're seeing every day, but, finding out what's going on with Kraven, what I guess it did to his family, right? Kind of like breaking up the family. I think that's very impactful, and I guess really just boiling it down to the most simple thing, right? Of he's dying. He's dying. He doesn't want to go out, in a hospital bed or, sick in his bed, with people around him. That's not how he wants to go, right? He prides himself in being a hunter. He's the elite, or he's the apex predator, and he wants to find the best that there is, and he wants that person to be the one to take him out. And he's going to do his best to always win, right? To always defeat them. But he wants to meet his equal / somebody that's more powerful. And he wants that person to be the one to take him out because he's going anyway, okay? And I actually really, really like that idea. And again, you get most of that just in the main story. So I think they did a really good job of just kind of throwing that at you kind of piecemeal as the story goes on. And, he meets that, I think, to a large degree with Peter, I guess with the symbiote, right? Because I think that boss fight is also extremely good. I think he's one of the better boss fights in the game. He's somebody that's a little strategic. He doesn't have, he has got like the normal amount of phases, I guess, right, compared to everybody else. But I like his moveset, right? Like when you think of bosses in the From Software games, they're just bosses in general, right? They'll have their moves, they'll have their kind of pattern. I think his is pretty cool and pretty it makes sense for the character. So I really liked that fight. I liked Peter figuring it all out and kind of figuring it out in the moment. And then we talked about the Venom fight against him and I think it's meant to be this way. Okay, you whoop him, you destroy him, and I think like the parrying system was always kind of an up and down thing of how I felt about it in this game. And sometimes I'd feel like I understood the exact timing. Sometimes I just didn't get it. Like I thought I was doing the timing right, and I didn't. For Venom, I think the parrying was very forgiving for you, and you just dominated. So when it's Venom versus Kraven, he's already weak, right? Kraven, he's closer to death than he was before, and he was already whooped by Peter. So at this point, he's just fighting because he really has reached the strongest enemy that he could possibly find. But he gets absolutely crushed, and then obviously he dies, right? So I thought it was a really, really good arc where again he does have such a huge importance on the greater story. I was going to say, I think it's true. Like, he serves his role, and he does, his kind of parts of this game well, and you don't rely on him to be the main thing. But you know what? He kind of set the main thing in motion. It's his fault that everything happened, because then the Venom and Harry thing, and Peter, I guess those three, right? That becomes the last 20-25% of the game. He really sets the ending, the conclusion of the game up. Even if he's not in it, he's the cause of it, right? And then his own, parts to the game, he takes Peter out almost. He would have taken Peter out if it wasn't for the symbiote. He's strong. He's intimidating. His hunters are actually pretty cool as well, like in terms of how they fight, and they can be like up on walls shooting at you. Like, it's just really cool design, and I like the motivation. I think the motivation of Kraven is really, really good in this game, and it's very simple. I tend to like that, right? Simple motivations that make sense, and you don't have to think too hard about them, but they also kind of resonate where it's like, yeah, you might know a person. Obviously, that's not going to go hunting other human beings to try to kill them, but a person that say is dying, and then they don't want to just sit and like let it take them. They want to get up and they want to do things, and obviously this is that a little bit higher, right? Like he wants to do things. He wants other people to be the ones to take him out. He wants to find a true equal or somebody better. He doesn't just want to like sit around and just wait for the day to come. So I think that's pretty cool. Now obviously he does some stuff that he probably shouldn't have done in terms of illegal activity, but I really like the character of Kraven in this game. And honestly, I think I liked him more than I thought I would. I don't really know how much I thought I'd like him. And like, I guess it's subjective because you like the villain, but I think they did a really good job with his role. And I think he was one of the better characters in the game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel. Bell icon turned on. We got more character videos coming. Let me know if there's any characters that you want to see me cover, and we'll definitely get to them, okay? Thanks for watching. We'll see you all on the next one.